All right, so what we're gonna do is he currently down right now?
No, he just laid down.
Okay, so let's go ahead and just move with him. We'll move to the center here. And he's responding just to the verbal cue, correct? Or is that a struggle too?
So if I just do verbal, I haven't gotten him to do it at all.
Okay.
If I am stepping on the leash and pressing and pushing, he'll start to go down. But like I said, like as soon as I let up with my hand, he'll stand right back up. Even if I keep with the leash and the button.
Cool. So here, go ahead and just cue down. Okay.
Down.
Okay. Yeah. So what we're gonna do, gotcha, is if he's responding to the hand, and then when you're not using the hand or whatever, he's not, then we start to wean off the hand and go through remote. Okay. So when you said down, you see how he got up. So that means he knows he's supposed to do something in response because we get movement, just not too clear. It looks like. So at this stage, I want you to assume that if you say down, either one, he's not going to do it, or two, he's going to move, and he's going to move him out of position. So what we're going to do is we're going to choke up just to limit range of motion. So if he gets up, right away he's going to hit, as he tries to move forward, the end of the leash, and we're going to start tapping immediately in a slow rhythmic pattern. And eventually he should feel it, and then all of a sudden it just plop down. Okay? We're going to do that a few times until we get consistent downs. And then keeping them in the down should be easier after, if you're doing stationary stuff, because first he has to know how to just down in response to remote pressure alone. Once he has that down, if he gets out of position in the remote down, he already has the idea of like, oh, I'll go back into this without needing this stuff, okay? So like the physical, like the leash stepping or the hand on the shoulders, you can still use if he's like in a panicked or confused state. Okay, so if you tell him down and he's just like doing all of this, confused or panicked, okay, I keep the pressure on and then I use my hand, and like the hand is kind of like a grip to reality. He's like, oh, boom, okay, just to help him work through that.
Okay.
Because if you reset, he doesn't learn how to think through the panic or the confusion. And I always, as much as possible, work that dog through it. If you reset, again, life doesn't always let you reset, so you're also just training yourself on how to make things happen within the moment. Okay? So let's go ahead and release him. Okay.
So say break.
Yep. So we're going to ignore, because he technically got up when you lifted up your foot, right? Right there. Don't worry about that right now. So let's go ahead and bring Milo over here.
So we're gonna pull up.
So you're going to be like that, right? Not just, you hold your hand just like that.
Okay.
Now go to cue down.
Down.
Yeah. All right. Right. Okay. Now,
It doesn't like you.
I guess not.
and go to cue break.
Okay, break.
And I'm gonna have you bring Milo more into this open space here. Yep. And limit the leash again, right there. Wait a moment. Wait a moment. Because now he's already going into it. Lightly up, yep. Wait a moment. Down.
Down.
Good. So now we're getting a quicker response. Okay. Now he just did one right now, the first one, so it could be fresh in his mind. We're gonna do one more like this, and then we're gonna start adding movement to incentivize him breaking the position, so that you see how when we correct him for breaking, how it translates to just getting to down in the first place. Okay. Break. Sort of go around real quick. Good turn. Wait a moment, yep. Right. Wait a moment, relax. Yep, up, yep. Good, relax. Now,
Down.
good. So what we're gonna do here is, we're gonna, remember, did we do the step out and walk around stuff?
I don't think so.
No? Okay, so what you're gonna do here is when you step away from Milo, you're going to have a Milo and a Milo. I have two Milos and a Milo, so I was trying to remember there. Since he's on your left side, what you're gonna do is when you step out, I'm gonna have you pivot out like this, okay, with the leg away from Milo here. And what you're gonna do is you're gonna have your leash ready, so you're already holding it like this when you step out, okay? Because when you step out, he's probably gonna wanna follow.
Yeah.
You're gonna just hold him back and you're gonna just tap. You're not gonna say anything until we see him go back into the position. Okay?
Okay.
Just gonna pivot out. Tap. Tap. Now relax. Good. And then keep your hand like you have it. That's good right there.
Okay.
And you're gonna just step by step walk around him. Tap. 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 Yep. And then step out. Good. Tap. 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 Good. And with your hand, just keep it where it's at. Tap it.
I gotta be like right here, basically?
No. Where you had it, right there is fine.
Okay.
Okay, so because what's, tap, tap, good. So what you're doing here, and this is okay that he's moving, because you're just trying to get him to lay down only using the remote,
Okay.
technically. This is just to limit Milo so that he can't get to you or move too much. Because if you leave the leash slack and you start tapping him, he's gonna start walking all around you. So by choking up, you're limiting remote options, and you start tapping. So you're not using the hand to guide him down. It's just to keep him as in place as possible. And then once he lays down, you continue with your movement. Okay, so let's try a couple more steps. Tap, 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 tap. Right there. Good. Try to move around. Tap, 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 tap. Good. And now I'm gonna have you counter back the other way.
Like this one?
Yeah, don't worry about this right now. Good. And then back in. And break.
Break.
Good. Let's try that 2 more times. Break, break, break. Good. There you go. Wait a moment. Yep. Wait a moment. Down.
Down.
Good. And so walk in a circle. Tap, tap, tap. Good. And circle. Tap, tap, tap. Good. What's your number right now?
I'm at 60.
So 68. And then continue coming around. Tap, tap, tap. Good. Better, faster. Good. Tap, tap. Okay, good. Walk around. Tap. Good. Walk around. Tap. Okay, hold right there, that's fine. Wait a moment. Break. Break. Good.
I feel like it's like trying to crawl.
Yeah, I know. Let's place him in the middle, try that again. But you see how, let's go down to 65. How when you went up, the downs became more instant,
Yeah.
right? So the first batch, I didn't care about him moving, because I cared about him laying down in response to only the collar. If you try to do too many things at once, too complicated, he's not gonna get it. So I always try to do these topic by topic. So first was just tapping alone, get him to lay down easily. Once we got that down, then we started focusing on getting him to lay down easier with just one tap, as opposed to like, because the first few took like 3 or 4. The last batch took like maybe 1, I think, a piece, those last 3 times or so. But then it was too much power, so we're gonna go down in the middle. And eventually we work on, okay, now you lay down, you don't move, and I can walk around you and you stay down, okay? So once you get to that point, then it's easier to transition to down on my feet and then watch TV for an hour. Because when he tries to get up and you correct him, you shouldn't need anything else but the remote to reposition him, okay?
Okay.
Break. Come on. Pull, pull. Pull, pull. And boy. Coming. Good. Go ahead and take one more step to your right. A little nudge. Tap. 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 There we go. Good. And then light up. Tap. Tap. Tip. Relax. Good. Wait a moment. Up. Tip. Good. Wait a moment. Down. 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 Right. Good. Good. Then start your walk around. Good. Yeah. Good. Wait a moment. Go and cue break. Break. Good. You see this last bit?
What are you doing?
Yeah, he's going to avoidance. Tap. 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 Good. Down. Good. So for this last one, it's gonna be, we want to be more strict, and then also not allow him to actually get to Anna here, because all that was seeking comfort. $65 still. Good.
Is he just like really confused and stressed right now?
Excuse me?
Is he just really confused and stressed right now?
A little bit, right? So here, the reason why he was able to hold here is because when he went over there, and I said he's in avoidance mode, is he was stuck on, I don't want to do this, I want to go to mom or whatever, right? Is earlier, you more so pulled him, and you did more of the work to bring him in, and here I put a little bit, and I made him decide to come over here. Okay, so when the dog goes into avoidance, now we're in behavior mode. So this can also create a correct mental state. So there's being aggressive, and then there's thinking about being aggressive. Okay, so when we work with aggression, we correct it first, and then if I start to see the dog tensing up and like forward and ground stuff, and they're thinking about it, boom, and then you'll see them stop the thought process, right? So here, he's going, this is down. Don't want to do this. He goes into avoidance mode. So then we either have to contain him and use the e-collar to make him decide that avoidance isn't the answer, and he brings him inside of the space, and then that's why he was able to hold. But if he's stuck in, I don't want to do this, you're going to keep seeing attempts like that. Okay, so like let's say you're practicing at home, and you're like, man, he just won't sit still. And you see him maybe going to his kennel as a safe space, right? Is since he's stuck in avoidance mode, that's why he's not sitting still. So then I counter him, promote him to leave the kennel, and then go into the don't move aspect. Does that make sense?
So if we were doing this at home and seeing the same thing, he should have the leash on as
Yes.
well, right? Like if he didn't, we should leash him.
Yes.
Okay.
In the beginning, in this phase, for everything that we do, always assume leash on
Okay.
until you see like as close to like 100% compliance. You know, like one day you're just like, I don't even know if I need this anymore. And then you leave it dragging, just in case. Because the moment you remove the leash, she's gonna know, oh, I have a lot more options,
Okay.
right? So we're creating habits where he's thinking, oh, I don't have options, other than just to comply. So in the beginning, you can use the leash as long as you want. There's no rule to how long or how little. I just wait till the owner's far enough along and you kind of know. And then if you experiment without it, and he's good 70% of the time, what does that tell us?
Probably a little bit longer with the leash.
Yeah, go back to the leash, right?
Yeah.
Because I don't want to settle for 70. I want as close to 100 as possible, right? So eventually you work it, maybe another month or so, you try it again, and then you're like, yeah, he's almost not ever non-compliant. You know, then I go, good, because you're not ever going to get perfection. Like no one's 100% consistent. No dog's going to be 100% consistent on that stuff. But you can get as close to it as possible. And the great thing about dogs is that it just falls on us. It's not him spiting you and going like, I'm gonna piss you off today, and I'm gonna not listen, right? It comes to us. If you practice consistency, he just gives you that, okay? So I think that's a big part of what you're struggling with right there, is just behaviorally, he was not having it. So then we let him go and tuck away, to try it, and then he got corrected for that itself. So he just learned, oh, I can try to run away. I can try to hide underneath the chair, but then I get corrected for that. So that's not an option. Okay? Go ahead and release him.
Okay, break.
So let's try swapping handlers here. And then I'm gonna have you take like a step back away from it here. Yep, just pull Milo a little bit away. Yep, good, hold right there. Lightly up, and now relax. Right now, lightly up, tap, tap. Right, and then relax. Then lightly up, and then relax. Lightly up, and then relax. Good. So right there, that was much better in your counter pressure. It was enough to tell him what to do, but not enough to do it for him. So if you ever feel like you're lifting him and setting him down again, and lifting him and setting him down again, you're doing all the work. Just enough, the remote makes him think, oh, okay, I should stop assuming the down and sit. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Now go to cue the DOW in.
Down.
Tip. Good. And then yes, in the middle and just circle around. Good. Try coming back the other way. And it's super important when you do this, of course, is not to put pressure on that leash. Okay? Because if you accidentally pulled it, he's going to think he needs to move.
Yeah.
Okay? Go ahead and cue the break.
Break.
Good. And let's try that 2 more times. Good. Right, much better. Wait a moment. Right, good, much better. Yep. Good. Right. Wait a moment. Yep. Wait a moment. Yep. Yep. Now here, lightly keep anchored where you are and lightly pull back. Tap. Tap. Good. Wait a moment. Lightly up. Good. Wait a moment. Wait a moment. So the reason why I said back is because he started inching his way over here. Right? So that's the brain going like, I'm trying to get away from this. So then you just counter him a little bit to get him to disengage. So let's say we ignored it. Potentially we see him doing that get up motion. Again. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So
So
there.
it didn't have anything to do with Mitch being over there, right? It's just like away from.
Away from, I mean, he's part of it.
Sure.
But yeah, away from you, or like let's say he wasn't here and it's just a chair, wanting to tuck underneath the chair.
Yeah.
It's the same thing.
Like he was kind of over here before you got here, kind of just like
Yeah.
already kind of avoiding
And-
what this whole program is.
Correct, because he knows what this room is,
Yeah.
right? He's like,
Yes.
oh, we're gonna do these exercises again, right?
Yeah.
So here, even though he tried to sit down 20 times, it doesn't matter. We just correct and correct and correct. And that's actually how you create that as close to 100% as possible, is again, your consistency. You know, people tend to give up, or they're like, oh, the dog's not getting it, or the dog's yelping. He's yelping because he's frustrated. And I get it. But unfortunately, I can't tell him, hey, if you just don't lay down, nothing will happen.
Yeah.
I can't do that for him, right? He
Right,
has to
right.
try the option, be corrected, directed in what to do instead, and then he learns. Okay? DOWN.
Down.
Tip. Yep. Wait a moment. Wait a moment. Tip. Good. Step out, circle around. Now, why was he confused there?
Because I tapped him so many times for laying down.
Yeah.
And now we were tapping to the opposite.
Yeah. So it's frustrating, right? That's why I tell people to do this exercise 3 to 5 minutes, real short, right? A couple times a day, because it is frustrating. And you can pair food with this stuff now, okay?
So that was the only way that I was getting him to go down, like at home, without the press. pressure. Because I feel like for a couple days we were doing it really good inside with the leash on, and I was like, well, now we're on a walk, like we might as well try while we're outside or with some distractions. And I feel like that was probably a mistake, because then he didn't do it out there, and I had such a hard time that when we went back inside, he was like, now I don't have to do it. You already showed me I don't have to do it. So then I tried with food.
Yeah, when it comes with food, the food is not as a lure, it's simply for payment. So I would do all this the same as we're doing here, but once he does it, here you go. Does that make sense?
Yes.
As opposed to showing it to him and luring him with it, right? Because the incentive is already there.
Yeah.
No, we make them work first. Once he completes the task, then we pay.
Okay.
Okay, so that's, if you're going to use food, that's how you would implement it. Okay.
The same way with the recall, right? Because that's how we do it with, like with recall, like I just have it in my pocket, and then once he comes and sits, then I pull it out. Also just because usually we're at the dog park, and I don't want all the other dogs to come.
Yeah, no, for sure, yeah. But exactly.
Okay.
I call you, you get here, you put your butt down first, and then I pay you. Okay? So work first, then payment.
Okay.
So you can either be selective and only reward the times he downs well, and then when you have to remote him, you don't pay him. Or in the beginning, you pay him each time, correction or no correction, and then after a few reps or whatever, or a few days of training sessions, you start to be more selective and pulling away feeding for everything to only feeding for the ones that are really good. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And it won't make him dependent on it. It just helps clear up the conversation. So the way this works is we have positive punishment and negative reinforcement. Okay, positive, negative meaning add and subtract. Collar is punishment. It's something bad. Positive is adding something bad. So when I say down and I start remoting, that contraction is happening as positive punishment. But then when he does it, I remove something bad. So then we stop tapping. So once he completes it, we're removing something bad, so that's technically a good thing. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So then you could also cue in positive reinforcement, which is add something good. So pressure on, he does it, pressure off, feed. So now you're operating with three, the quadrants.
I know, yeah.
The three of the quadrants, whatever. And it just makes it a little bit more clear for the dog. If you end up weaning the food, let's say after a couple of weeks and stuff, and then Milo goes like being a rat about things, then it's like, all right, well then it's just positive punishment and negative reinforcement then, because now we've created an expectation. It's super, super rare. The only time I ever see that is when I get dogs that are really insecure, and then we build up their confidence, and they become too confident, and they become a bully. So then we gotta squash them back down to the middle.
Gotcha.
Okay. So we'll do one more release and then one more down.
Break.
Right, wait a moment. Wait a moment. Wait a moment. Yep. No.
Down.
Yep. Wait a moment. Yep. Wait a moment. There. Did I tell you guys how to tell if a dog is thinking?
They just move around a lot.
Could you see that? Right? How he was kind of doing this and then he kind of scooted back and he started doing his head thing and eventually he laid down. Okay, so remember movement, and then once he comes to a complete stop, that's the decision. So it's the wrong decision, okay, again, movement. Once he comes to a complete stop and he lays down, nothing. That's his decision. Okay. Questions on that?
No.
So, what I would do is revisit this at home, 3 to 5 minutes, for you to use food. And we use high value stuff, by the way, sausage, turkey, bologna, cheese, ham, whatever, rotisserie chicken, because we are using, you can get really good reliability, obviously you can get off-leash reliability and stuff. So if I'm wanting the best from the dog, then I'm going to pay them with the best. I do have a very high standard, so I use these tools, but I don't think people just think that we're solely this. But when we train here ourselves, because we're trainers, we do use food.
Mhm.
We use really good food. We don't use garbage
Yeah.
treats that taste like bacon. Just use bacon.
Yeah.
You know? So, but we're trainers.
Mhm.
You know, so we were used to like multitasking and all these things.
Right.
Whereas for the average owner, they just want something that's gonna work.
Mhm.
So this can work by itself, but if you wanna just see how does he do if you had something else, you can absolutely do that, okay? So now I'm transferring this to like, okay, Milo, don't move for a period of time.
Mhm.
Now it should be much easier,
Okay.
okay? Because now you can make them down solely through pressure.
Mhm.
Just remember about limiting that leash. So if you were to sit down, stepping on it, maybe giving him a foot or so, you know, helps limit his range of motion so that when you correct him, if you start to hear him go up in that energy, give a little bit of time, a few seconds, to see if he ends up, you know, coming to a stop. What you probably see is he's like this.
Mhm.
Like he'll stop
Yes.
and it'll just be like this, right?
Yes.
That's the final decision. Incorrect. Tap. Right? And he starts to shuffle around. And he's like this.
Yes.
Right? Then he stops. Incorrect. Tap. And then he shuffles around. And then boom.
Yes.
Correct.
Yes.
Okay? Because if you keep on pressure when he's doing that, you'll start to create panic.
Okay.
Because he's still in decision mode.
Yeah.
Right? So if you're keeping the tapping on, he's still in decision mode, and then he doesn't know what to do. So if you go slower and allow him to process and stop, then tap, process, stop, tap, finally he lays down, perfect. Okay? Was that kind of happening?
Some of the time he just did not respond and did not care, and I would tap and he would move around and sit and then move around and sit a different way, and that was when I would start putting pressure.
Mhm.
And then so sometimes it was that he would go down as long as there was pressure, and then once I let up on the pressure he would stand up.
Mhm.
But sometimes if he was doing it on his own, it would be like just the front's down,
Mhm.
or like I'm halfway down and I'm like it's not
Yeah.
really what I want.
Yeah. What
So-
we do is just limit the leash
Yeah.
and just keep that pressure on.
Okay.
And it could take 5 to 10 minutes, and then he finally caves, and then everything after that will be smooth.
Okay.
It happens all the time where we have dogs that will just resist or act like they don't know what they're doing, and we just keep the pressure on them.
Right. I was
And-
like, this is dumb. You like knew this before. I
Mhm.
know that you know what it
And it's
is.
just, you know, it sounds like to me he's kind of playing a game.
Yeah.
So we'll keep the pressure on them, and eventually they crack,
Mhm.
and then everything after that is smooth sailing, because they were just trying to be defiant, and they just learned that, well, I can prolong this process,
Mhm.
or I can make this process very easy.
Right.
Okay? So, questions about that?
I don't think so.
Alrighty, thresholds.
Mhm.
Pretty simple. So, you can use the martingale for now. If you're feeling like it's because since it's blunt, it's when you're trying to keep it all stationary and they're really wanting to move, you tend to have to do more physical
Mhm.
to keep them contained. Okay, but you can try the martingale first until he's all good, and then if you feel like it's still a hassle, then you can incorporate the prong, and that should make things a lot easier. Okay, so with the threshold, you're talking about the first door and the second door coming out the building.
Those ones or the ones out the back, or even like now sometimes like when we're walking into the park, like into Trebs, like as soon as we cross the gate.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. So when it comes to thresholds, so like here, you want to look at how you're positioning yourself and Milo, because that's a big factor. Which obedience, the way we teach it, doesn't really, because we teach left, right? So if he automatically sits here,
Yes.
this is gonna pop him up.
Right. Yes.
So what you would do is you want him here. So what I would do whenever you're going into a space where you're like, where you know how the door's open,
Yeah.
is don't worry about heel. Just have him on the right side with like a little bit of a shorter leash, and he should walk without, and you don't have to say anything. He should walk well here, assuming he's kind of tying it into this. Okay. Come to the door, he should automatically sit. If not, up tap. Okay. Keep your leash short because we want to limit range of motion. And when you go to open, sometimes the dog will pop up right now.
Yes.
Right? And then just do this. So he pops up here, you start remoting, correct him. Go back to the door. No movement, good. I crack it open, he gets up, I close it, tap, 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 put his butt back down. Right? Try it again. This, open, slow open, close. Nothing? Good. turn around, come back, and repeat. Okay? So if you want him to learn faster, repeat it. If you don't care about the speed of which he learns, you would just do this every single time you go out the door, and he would eventually get it. Right? So if you want him to learn faster, you gotta repeat, 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 repeat. So kind of like their own training sessions, 3 to 5 minutes, one a piece. You should be there within, I would say, like 3 to 5 days. Okay? Now, again, if you want to add a reinforcer, in the beginning, let's say you're doing this, and you do this, and he actually holds it, you feed it. Okay? But he does the work first. Okay? So you're not here with the treat in his eye, in front of him, doing this. He doesn't know about it.
Yeah.
He holds it, I feed at the end. Break, circle around, come back, and repeat. Does that make sense? Want to try it?
Yeah. Break.
When we ultimately do want to go through the door though, do we just say heel and then we just walk through?
Correct, yeah. So that's what we'll have to figure out next, because you can do one of two things. Is if you don't want him to forge,
I feel like he's so big.
right there, and up, then relax.
I was about to say, I feel like he's like faking. Like it was so much harder to get him to sit or to lay down at home, and like the doors, he will like as soon as it's open, like right out. So I don't know if he's just calmer now, but I feel like he's,
Yeah, well, what we did earlier.
Yeah.
So that's a really good observation. Because having that done that, because literally, do you see the change in his behavior
Yes.
since
Oh,
that one little
absolutely.
moment, right? So it's kind of like a kid going into school and they're like just not wanting to learn, right? They're just, they don't want to be told what to do, they don't want to learn, they just don't want to be compliant. You're not going to teach them anything that day, right? Someone has to talk to them, get through them, break down that resistance, and then the kid goes back to the class and goes, no, I can learn. Okay, and this goes for adults too. Like if someone's talking to you and you're pissed off and you don't want to hear a thing they're saying, you're not going to hear a thing they're saying.
Yeah, right.
So here, that that whole not wanting to do this, that avoidance and all that. Once I got him out of that, he goes, okay, what are you gonna teach me, right? And then he also like sat there and let me walk around him right off the bat. Whereas Mitch, he kept getting up.
Yeah.
Right. So that then led to this. So inside the home, when you're practicing with them, you may see. Let's say you go back to practice this. Maybe he does try to be a little resistant because he's at home, and you crack it. And you make him do it and stuff, and you do a few sessions of that, and all of a sudden this becomes easier.
Okay.
And then the back door becomes easier, right? Because he hadn't been made to do it just yet. Using pressure, that's the most important thing, right? You're going, hey, but I know you have a concept of down. We've seen it.
Yeah.
Right? I'm gonna hold you to that. So for me, whenever I make progress, I try not ever to digress.
Okay.
I always, if we're learning something more complicated, I go back a little bit, but I get back to that point pretty quick. But something like this, which was something he even knew prior, right? The down stuff, is familiar with him.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, I saw you do it at Jesse's twice now. So I know you can do it.
Right.
So if you want to take 10 minutes of being resistant and all that nonsense, we're going to take 10 minutes, but you're going to give it to me.
Okay.
Yeah,
We can't give him an inch, basically.
Yeah, oh yeah. Oh yeah. That, I say that stuff all the time, especially with the heel. I'm like, they'll give an inch, next thing you know, they're over here, right? So absolutely. Okay, you're not being mean. He wants that, he needs that. Okay? And then the more you get used to it, it's not even work. Like for us here, we're so used to the structure and how things operate here, it's no work for us anymore. But in the beginning, it was a lot of work. I had to train all my employees, keep everybody really regimented and stuff, but they've done it so long that every time we get a new dog, we got 30 dogs into the structure, so now we just have one dog in this linear structure. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
As opposed to me going like, I could have been like, I just want 8 dogs in this place. And I could have got that real quick. And then try to put in structure. Forget about it. Too much work. I said, nope, don't worry about the numbers, worry about the quality. Get all the dogs on the same page, one by one by one by one. So now when we get to 80, it's still gonna be quiet. Like people are always crazy, they're always like amazed. They're like, are there dogs here? I'm like, yeah. They're like, but it's so quiet. I'm like, yeah, because we don't allow nonsense.
Yeah.
Like, how many dogs back there? Oh, 30? They're like, really? I'm like, yeah. Right now, it's on like 5 or 8.
I've gone to places before, and it's like a madhouse. You can just hear it outside.
Oh yeah.
It's
Yes.
insane.
Yeah.
It's way different.
It is way different.
One of my other employees, a new guy, he went to interview at another place, and his interview was a day at the daycare. And he said he went in and he said it was crazy. He was like, man, he's like, it was so loud. And they put him in a room with 30 dogs, and the dogs were like posturing and hackles up and everything. And he's like, this is crazy. And he's like, needless to say, I did not take that position because he started working here. Like he did both, and then he was like, yeah, this is not gonna work out. So, but all this stuff stacks. Okay, so here that was good. You went to open it. He was good in the beginning. And then when you went to close it, then he popped up. You did like 2 or 3 taps, he backed off, sat down. Okay, so try opening again. Right, kept. Right back, now close. Good. Now one thing that people do, which is like a mistake, is they'll correct it all and stuff, and then just go through. And what you want is a complete success. Okay, like, yep. Then relax, good. You want, yep, good, yep, a little bit, right, good. You want to be able to open it. He doesn't move, period, heel. There we go. Okay, if I'm still having to correct him each time, he's not going to get it. You want him to be able to process, door opens, butt is down, you say heel, then we move.
And then as we're walking through the common area, same rule applies as it is outside. Like you should be.
Yeah, you know, and then like, because for me in the morning, like I gotta pick him up and other dogs, that I just tone him down because he gets super excited.
Yeah.
So I'm like correcting him. Plus I'm like, shit, I don't want people.
You have no idea.
Yes. So what I would do is if you're trying to get that addressed, right? Because if it remains ignored, and I understand why, it'll always happen in that pocket. And then you get outside, you're like, damn, Milo, like, you're always quiet outside. But
He is. As soon as he gets past that, like the double doors, he'll get out on the concrete and sit, and he's like, okay, like, are we going on a walk? Are we going to the park? Like, where are we going? But it's like down the stairs to those double doors.
Yes, because that's when your structure hits. Okay. So if you wanted to fix that, because ideally it would work backwards. We would fix it outside, and then it would just trail inside. Okay. In your case, it did it. No big deal. But if you want that to happen, what I would do is pick a time, like if your neighbors are going back to work, whatever, and you're home on a 9 to 5 one day, take that time to work on that stuff. So he's being vocal, you can correct him, start applying structure, but not worried about like, oh, am I waking up my neighbors? That stuff. You know, I've always told people, let others know, and it just lets them know like, oh, this is why it's happening, as opposed to them just not knowing and then just thinking your dog's being a jackass. No. But yeah, if that's something you're wanting to address, then that just means you have to put some more effort there. And the same thing with like the threshold stuff, you know, is picking a time where it's maybe not the most bothersome to people or whatever, and then doing your drills, and then eventually you should be able to just have a quiet walk from the front door all the way up to outside. Okay? Does that part make sense there?
Yes.
So yeah, so obedience is black and white, right? Heel, left side, blah, 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 blah. It doesn't always work well in life, especially when you have a door that opens like this. So that's when you can break the rules of obedience, okay? I don't care if he's on the right side because you put him there. It's when he chooses to go to the wrong side that's a problem, okay? It's you saying, okay, right now, because all our doors open like this, you're gonna be here. But the moment we step out, you're gonna be here. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Cool. Questions on that?
I should assume also that like a door threshold will come before like the stairs or like the opening gate to the park, right?
Sure. So what you can do for stairs is a little bit harder, is what you would do is you would just limit, you give slack so he could get like a step ahead of you, but not too much slack that you can get 2 to 3 steps ahead of you. Okay. You go down a step. He tries to barrel down. You just have it short. It's going to stop him. And kind of like earlier when you pulled to your left and you tap and you back him up, that's what you're going to do. Lightly back, tap to back him up. Another step. He goes down, tap, back him up. Okay. So you're technically allowing him to forge, because doing the turnaround method on the stairs is not easy. So here, you're going down stupid slow. Step at a time, really testing that patience. And then eventually you'll see that he'll go down with you at your pace. And then once you got that down, then you go step to step to step to step.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
But if you try to your way down, he's gonna go for sure. Okay, so you use the heel as your default, and then you're technically allowing him to go, but not too much where you don't have leverage, because you're gonna need some guidance back in the remote to back him off one step. And then you go down, same thing for going up. Okay? Other questions?
Looks good.
Release, right? Ball, or drop it.
Yes.
Does he got good ball drive?
It really depends. Like I think the reason he likes it at the park is because he knows that if he has a ball or a stick or whatever, the other dogs will chase him.
Sure.
To get it, and that's the part I think he likes. I think he likes a tennis ball, but I don't think he needs it. You know what I mean?
Let me grab one to see if he has any interest, okay?
There's one up there if you.
He's on break.
Break.
Apparently this ball has no help. Go and jump release. Go get it. Okay, go down to like 15. So if he won't actively engage with it, I know what we'll do. He doesn't have any allergies?
Not that I know of.
Okay, tap. 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 Yes. Good. Tap. Yes. 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 So you see how he's turning his head away now? Yes. Good. Yes. Good. Do one more. Tap. He's hearing the tap too.
Yeah.
I don't know if you noticed that. Good. So what we're doing is I'm teaching him how to disengage with the remote.
Okay.
Okay. So you can do a couple of things. If you go to the park and you know you want him to have nothing to do with an object, the moment you see him interested, right? Tap.
So we've done that.
Mhm.
So like we'll do like a leave it, and that was also like one of the first things that we like taught him without a remote. And I'd say like most of the time he will do that. It's once it's already in his mouth that he will not drop it.
Sure.
So I don't know if that's different than what you're saying.
To the human, yes.
Okay.
Right? The human would be leave it is preventative.
Yes.
Drop it is release what's in your mouth. But to the dog, he doesn't know what the hell each word means, right?
Okay.
So when you go there, if something is off limits, anytime he looks at it, you're preemptively remoting.
Okay.
So he thinks every time I show interest in it, I get remoted. And he ends up not wanting anything to do with the object. Okay. Let's say there is an object there and he can have it, but it belongs to another dog. You would start, well actually think of it this way. If you don't care how he feels about that object, it doesn't matter. You just remote and you go up, okay? But if you're trying to harness like ball drive, and I have a video I can send you that I just did with another client, is we don't want, he wanted to play fetch with his dog and not kill ball drive. So we went down low, okay? And then we would throw the ball, the dog would come back, he'd grab the ball, but the dog wouldn't release it.
Right.
So he started remoting low, and eventually the dog started spitting it out, and he would throw it again, right? And the dog just started coming and dropping it at his feet.
Okay.
So if you're trying to keep the drive or interest in the toy, you remote lower, work your way up.
Okay.
Okay, because we're trying not to kill it. If it's like, no, you shouldn't have that, then you just remote it. We don't care about how he feels about it after the fact. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So, and you can use like the word drop it, and then you just keep that pressure on until he releases it. Okay? So if you're like, let's say he's playing chase, he's got the ball, he's running from another dog, and he's like, this is a lot of fun, and you're just remoting him.
Yeah.
50, 60, 70, right? Because he's enjoying himself.
Yeah.
So don't be surprised if you're up there before you find it goes, blah, and he spits it out, right? But then he's gonna run to you, because he's gonna think probably because of a recall or something.
Yeah.
And he's probably not gonna wanna be too interested in playing after that. It's okay. Just ignore him, see what he does. If he doesn't like get back to play within a few minutes, just leash him up, walk home, bring him back to the dog park later. Because eventually he'll get the drive back, but since it's such a harsh correction, it's gonna shut him down a little bit. And eventually, let's say you go back and the same scenario presents itself, where he happens to have a ball again, and he's playing chase, and then you tap him at 25, he's gonna spit it out, right? Because he's already going like, I know where this is gonna go, right? But it's like today, like breaking that first one, and then once you get it in, then he goes, oh, okay, I know what this is about.
Yeah.
Okay, so when you try, because you did say you've tried to remote him to release something, correct?
Yes.
Okay, and then did you get him to or no?
Sometimes. I feel like sometimes it seemed in response to the remote, and sometimes it seemed like it wasn't, if that makes sense.
Sure, just like half of the.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, what was the highest you went?
90?
Okay, so you're up there. Okay, when you hit 90, what happened?
He like yelped, and like that was why I was like, well, you didn't drop it, you like yelped.
Oh, so you still held it?
No. So
I see
feel
what
like
you're
it
saying.
like
He
fell
yelped and
out.
dropped. Sure.
Like it wasn't like I'm dropping this because I'm supposed to. It was like, oh shoot, and then he just kind of like released it.
Sure, and then did you go back to it?
No, then he came to me.
Yeah,
Like
so
you said.
like what I said, okay.
Yes.
Yeah, so I would consider that a release.
Okay.
Yeah, like he did yelp, but it was kind of like shit. And then like
Yes.
he let it go, so I would count that as a release.
Okay.
Have you had to remote him for an object since?
Yeah.
Okay, what's the highest you've been?
Usually then I just crank it up there. I don't feel like it happens like every time we're there. It's more like, shoot, like I know that's not ours and like other people are leaving soon. I think it's more of like my own anxieties about like someone's gonna be like, well, can your dog give me that back?
Sure.
And I'm gonna be like, I don't know.
Sure. So, what I would do is, if you know you don't want him just to touch anybody's stuff, is be proactive and remote him prior to getting it. If you want to take your time to like find those numbers first, instead of just cranking it, I don't care what you do. But if it's like you're like, oh, there's a ball, and he beelines towards it, and he's just right 90, because I know anything lower is not going to stop that mentality. But if he like looks at it, he's kind of trotting over 40, you know, and then being proactive, especially if you know it's like, oh, it's somebody else's object. So this way you just avoid the whole scenario, okay? Because you know you're not gonna like. I'm sure he's got his own toys or whatever at home, and stuff, or balls that you can bring to play with it. So you're not being mean or anything. You're just putting rules to things, and that's exactly what I did with that other guy, because this dog got in a fight with another dog over a ball at the park, and then I told him, well, I can't make your dog like sharing the ball with other dogs. But we can make the balls off limits so that we don't get any fights over because there's nothing in the resource guard. And then, but you can still play ball with your dog at the Bowles Park. You know, so I can send you that video if you want like a visual reference. Otherwise, I think you're correct in terms of the 90 to get them to release and all that stuff. Does that make sense? Does that answer your question?
Yeah.
Having a little fun here.
When you sent us that video, I know before you had also talked about that there's like attachments you can put on the collar for like longer wear. Would you be able to send those to us as well?
No.
Or the link for it?
Yeah, if you don't because I have someone immediately after you. Just send me an email if you don't get anything from me.
Okay.
Which I'm just thinking about. I had 2 people yesterday. I'm supposed to send them emails as well.
That's
so,
okay.
So I have to send you the ball video. Dog's name is Jesse. So that's easy enough to remember. And then the comfort pads. I'll send you a couple of links because there's comfort pads meant for extended wear. There's comfort pads that also give you better contact.
Okay.
So, you know, with the guy that's got like a little bit more of a denser coat like him, I think it'll help out
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we're just hoping to like, once it starts getting warmer, like take him out like on a hike or like camping or things like that, where I'm like, I would love him to be in the collar for longer than a couple hours.
Absolutely.
Eventually, so.
Yeah. So they're meant for extended wear. I do recommend if he's going to be in water at all, to still either rotate or check just in case. Because I did have one client. I think it's only ever been one client who she had the comfort pad, took her dog swimming over to like Lake Michigan or whatever, at her parents' cabin or something, and then the dog only had it on, I think, for like an hour and a half or so. But because it was a hot summer day and the moisture there, he ended up getting some kind of irritation from it. It healed up, went away, whatever. But it can still happen. So if he's gonna be swimming or anything, just keep that in mind.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's meant for, we use them here at the facility for a lot of our boarding trains, because since they're training much longer than other dogs, we use the comfort pads. And they tend to muffle power about a third. Okay, just as a heads up. So if your number goes up from like 40 to 60, that makes sense, okay? But you'll have to reconfigure a little bit. Some cases, it's still pretty good. In other cases, the owner will like notice like, oh, I'm higher than usual. Okay?
Okay.
Anything else?
I'm just really happy with the progress.
Yeah.
I was telling Ann on the way here, like, he's a completely different dog.
We took a video the first day before we even got here of like his walk in the morning.
Oh, sure.
He's just like a different dog. I mean, like still him, but like very different.
Yeah, no,
Much more well behaved.
yeah, he's definitely a vocal guy.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
but you know, like the first time we brought him here, the first few times on transports and stuff, you know, he was kind of whiny and vocal and everything.
Yes.
But now he just like goes back and just chills.
Yeah.
Same thing here in the kennel and stuff. The first, you know, couple of days he was kind of like more vocal. Now he's just here and he chills and observes stuff. So if you haven't had your before video and you do an after one, I'd love it.
Yeah.
We'll post it up.
Walks are so much easier now.
His first, it's like almost comical to watch because the walk, and it was probably actually one of our like worst walks that we've had. But Mitch took a video because he was like the whole walk, he was like, like constantly, and I was okay, like if you want to shut up, like at any second, like that would be cool. Like it's still kind of early.
Trev's off leash now, which is fun, so you can play there. Like, we know he's not gonna run away or anything like that because we can just get him back to us. I feel like he does calm really well.
Yes,
he does. Which is great. So.
I know, and we've gotten like so many compliments on like how well trained he is, and I feel like it's still so new feeling that I'm like, okay. But like in comparison to like some of the other dogs that we see like at the park or even just on walks, I mean he is. You just not wrong.
Yeah. No, it's if I have another client, same thing. Her dog was like super reactive and everything, and she went to Home Depot and all that stuff, and she's like, Jesse, she's like, I got like 8 compliments at Home Depot. She's like so proud and like happy. I'm like, perfect.
Yeah.
So if you ever have any questions, always feel free to reach out. Always happy to help. If anything ever pops up, you know, fluke moments happen. You know, I had someone who did a consult, their dog bit someone, you know, on a walk, whatever, and they've had the dog for like 5 years. And I was just like, it really just sounds like a fluke moment, you know, shit like that does happen.
Yeah.
So if that ever to happen to you, or there's something you're questioning or behaviorally, you let me know. And I'll usually say like, sounds like a fluke, keep an eye on it. If we start to see it becoming like a habit or becoming increasingly more common, then we got something we need to address. Otherwise, I think he's done great. The guys have done a great job. Good job doing your homework.
Thank you.
Yes.
It was a lot of fun too.
Maybe not for this guy, but now he's gonna get to do more stuff.
But I was gonna say,
That's what you said, hiking,
he can
like,
go
I
to,
love that stuff.
Yeah, he can
You
go
know?
outside and like, not just for like 10 to 15 minutes until my patience is done.
Yeah, no, it's like when
You know?
Melissa with Nash, you know, she was like, now they want to take them out.
Yeah.
You know, that's what people understand is control allows you to do more.
Yeah.
It allows you to have your dog experience a lot more things because we're not worried about is he gonna run away? Am I gonna be able to make him come back? You know,
Right.
or like
Can I drop
walks
him
where
and
they're
drop the
dragging
ball?
you.
Yeah.
So excellent.
I'm excited for the summer.
Oh, I know.
The spring, yeah. Hopefully the snow melts and keeps consistent. And we don't get more snow.
Yeah.
Awesome job, guys.
Thanks, appreciate it.
You're welcome. And then we'll see you tomorrow.
Yep.
Yes, yep, one more then? One more for the road?
I'm excited for it.
Yeah, boy, good
Yeah.
job.
He's a little excited.
He's like, treats at Jesse's?
You're like, this is like my old training.